When you first speak your dream into the world, it rarely receives applause. More often, it's met with raised eyebrows, quiet chuckles, or that familiar phrase, be realistic, people laugh, not because your dream is foolish, but because they cannot see what you see. They look at you through the lens of who you've been, not who you're becoming. To them, your vision doesn't fit the version of you they've already decided upon. But that's what vision does. It sees beyond the surface, beyond the noise, beyond the moment. It dares to imagine what doesn't yet exist. The truth is, doubt is almost always the first reaction to vision. It's human nature to question what challenges the ordinary. People are comfortable with patterns they understand. And when someone steps out of that pattern, your dream forces them to confront a truth they've avoided, that they too once had dreams they buried. So instead of cheering you on, they doubt you. It's easier to label your courage as crazy than to face their own regret. When you say you want to start something new, chase something big, or become someone no one around you has ever been, it shakes people's understanding of what's possible. Their ladder isn't truly about you. It's about their fear of change, their fear of being left behind, and their fear of failure disguised as advice. Every visionary has walked through that fire. Every great thinker, artist, and innovator once stood in a room full of skeptics who couldn't see past the present moment. But your job isn't to convince them, it's to keep walking. Vision isn't meant to be explained to everyone. It's meant to be shown through action. The moment you start proving through consistency, people begin to notice. The same ones who once laughed will lean in with curiosity. That's how doubt transforms slowly, quietly, when your persistence builds what their disbelief said was impossible. Doubt is not the enemy. It's the evidence that your dream is bigger than what most people can handle. It's a sign you're aiming high enough to make others uncomfortable. You must learn to see their disbelief as fuel, not friction. Let it push you further into your purpose. Remember, visionaries don't see with their eyes, they see with conviction. So when others laugh, don't shrink your dream to fit their sight. Let them laugh. Keep building. One day, they'll look back and realize the person they doubted was simply someone who saw what they never could. And that's when doubt gives birth to belief. Real strength is never forged in the spotlight. It's shaped in the stillness, in the moments when no one notices your effort, when the room is quiet, and it's just you facing the weight of your own commitment. The world often glorifies success, but forgets the silence that comes before it. Those who seem unshakable today are the same ones who spent nights battling self-doubt, exhaustion, and loneliness when no one was watching. That's where resilience is born. In the hidden spaces between trying and failing, between falling and rising again. When there's no applause, no validation, no one to tell you're doing great, that's when your character is tested. The silence becomes a mirror. It reflects back every weakness, every fear, every reason you could quit, and still you choose not to. It's not dramatic or heroic. It's quiet, consistent, and deeply personal. The people who endure aren't always the loudest or the most confident. They're the ones who keep showing up even when it feels like no one cares. They continue to push, not because they're certain of victory, but because quitting would mean betraying the promise they made to themselves. In silence, you begin to understand that growth doesn't announce itself. Progress hides behind repetition. It's in the late night hours when you work while the world sleeps, in the long mornings when the effort feels invisible, in the patience it takes to keep going, when results come slower than expected. Every step you take in solitude becomes part of the foundation you'll later stand on. You may not see it forming, but it's there, solid, unbreakable, and yours alone. The absence of recognition teaches you to rely on something stronger than approval, purpose. When you stop needing applause, you start building from a deeper place. The silence that once felt unbearable becomes sacred. It becomes the space where you meet your true self. Stripped of noise, stripped of expectation, stripped of everything except the question, do I still want this? And when the answer is yes, even when no one is watching, that's the moment resilience takes root. Later, when success arrives and the applause finally comes, you'll recognize how empty it is compared to the strength you built alone. You'll know that what truly carried you through wasn't recognition or praise. It was the unshakable will that grew in the quiet. Because resilience is never born in noise. It's created in silence, nurtured in struggle, and proven in persistence. Failure is not the end of the road. It's the classroom where greatness is taught. Every setback, every rejection, and every disappointment becomes a silent teacher shaping the person you're meant to become. When you fail, the world might see it as loss, but in truth, it's only the beginning of understanding what success truly demands. Failure doesn't destroy potential, it refines it. It strips away arrogance, teaches humility, and builds a depth of resilience no victory can ever provide. Each time you fall, you discover more about yourself than you ever would in success. You learn where you're strong, where you're fragile, and where you still need to grow. It's through mistakes that wisdom forms, not in theory, but through lived experience. Failure exposes what comfort hides. It forces you to confront your limits and teaches you how to stretch beyond them. You start realizing that every no you hear, every door that closes is guiding you toward the one that's meant to open. Greatness doesn't come from avoiding failure. It comes from engaging with it. Those who achieve remarkable things aren't immune to defeat. They've simply learned how to use it. They take the pain, the embarrassment, the frustration, and turn it into momentum. Failure becomes fuel. It hardens resolve, sharpens focus, and transforms insecurity into determination. You rise not because failure disappears, but because you refuse to let it define you. Most people fear failure because they see it as proof they're not enough. But the truth is, failure is proof that you tried, that you dared to step beyond the familiar. It's a sign that you're pushing against boundaries that others are too afraid to test. Those who never fail rarely grow. They stay safe, comfortable, unchallenged. The ones who fall and rise again, however, carry the marks of experience that make them unstoppable. Failure teaches you that success is not a straight line. It's a winding path of attempts, adjustments, and recoveries. Every stumble adds to your foundation. Every mistake whispers lessons that success alone can't offer. Over time, you begin to see failure differently, not as something to fear, but as a process to embrace. It becomes a rhythm, a companion, a necessary step in transformation. When you look back, you'll realize that every time you fell, something inside you grew stronger. The pain didn't break you, it built you. You rose not despite failure, but because of it, and that's where greatness begins. The world has a curious way of changing its tune once success arrives. The same voices that once questioned your ambition will be the ones applauding when your name echoes in the spaces they never believed you could reach. People doubt not because they know your limits, but because they can't imagine anyone stepping beyond the boundaries they've set for themselves. In their eyes, your dream looks too large, too distant, too bold to ever belong to someone like you. But success has a way of rewriting the narrative, not with words, but with undeniable proof. When you start, they'll laugh. They'll whisper behind closed doors and call your passion unrealistic. They'll measure your progress by their own small expectations and mistake your silence for surrender. But what they don't see are the nights you spend working while the world sleeps, the quiet sacrifices no one applauds, and the countless times you rebuild yourself after failure. Every moment of doubt becomes part of the story they will later pretend to have believed in all along. The truth is, most people don't recognize vision until it becomes visible. They only respect what they can see, touch, or measure. Your consistency, your persistence, and your refusal to quit slowly start to shift perception. The same crowd that once dismissed you begins to grow curious. They start asking how you did it, not remembering that they once said you couldn't. That's the irony of success. It silences doubt more effectively than any argument ever could. You don't need to defend your dream when your results become the evidence. There's a quiet satisfaction that comes with proving through action rather than words. Not out of revenge, but out of realization that your worth never needed validation. The journey itself teaches you something more valuable than applause. That belief must begin within. Because if you rely on others to recognize your potential, you'll quit before they ever do. But if you keep showing up, keep working, keep growing, their doubt will eventually transform into admiration. And when that moment comes, when they clap for the same dream they once laughed at, you'll understand that their change of heart isn't about you. It's about what success reveals. It exposes their own hesitation, their fear of dreaming boldly. You'll smile, not out of pride, but out of peace, knowing you never needed their approval to begin with. The same people who doubted you will celebrate you, but only because your courage made them believe what they couldn't see before. People often laugh at what they do not understand, and more often at what they fear. Their laughter is not always about amusement. It's a shield, a disguise for insecurity, for discomfort, for the quiet realization that someone else has found the bravery they've been avoiding. When people mock your dream, they're not attacking your vision. They're defending their own limits. It's easier for them to laugh than to admit that your courage reminds them of their own hesitation. Fear wears many faces. Sarcasm, judgment, silence, even laughter. It creeps into conversations disguised as concern. Are you sure that will work? Or maybe you should have a backup plan. But beneath the words lies an unspoken truth. They wish they had your boldness. They wish they had started when they had the chance. Your determination becomes a mirror. And in that reflection, they see the parts of themselves that settle for less. That's why they ridicule your ambition. It's not that your dream is wrong. It's that your dream exposes what they chose to ignore. When you begin to rise to chase something beyond ordinary reach, you disrupt the comfort of those who've built a life out of safety. Your risk taking challenges their complacency. Your effort reminds them of the effort they stopped giving. So they laugh because it's safer to mock than to change. Laughter gives them distance. It lets them pretend they're above the dream they secretly wish They had the courage to pursue. But here's the truth. People's reactions to your courage reveal more about their fears than your flaws. The ones who mock are often the ones most afraid to try. The ones who doubt you are the ones who gave up too early. Every laugh, every dismissive smirk, every whispered criticism is an echo of their own regret. And once you understand that, their laughter loses its power. You begin to see it not as insult, but as confirmation that you're doing something worth noticing. Fear doesn't only paralyze, it projects. People project their fears onto you because it's easier than facing them. They say you can't, so they don't have to admit they won't. But what they fail to realize is that fear and envy can never stop purpose. The same laughter that once stung will one day sound different, not because it changes, but because you do. You'll recognize it for what it truly was all along, fear trying to disguise itself as confidence. And that's when you'll know their laughter was never really about you. It was about the courage they were too afraid to claim for themselves. There comes a moment when words are no longer necessary. You stop trying to convince, defend, or explain because your consistency becomes the only language the world understands. Persistence has a quiet but undeniable power. It doesn't shout, it doesn't rush, it simply keeps moving forward. Every time you show up, even when no one notices, you're building proof. Proof that effort outweighs opinion. Proof that progress, no matter how slow, will always silence doubt. In the beginning, no one sees the hours behind the effort. They don't witness the sacrifices, the late nights, or the countless times you almost gave up. They see only the surface. A person trying, struggling, maybe even failing. But persistence works beneath the surface, building layer upon layer of strength until suddenly what once looked impossible starts to take shape. It's not about luck or timing or talent. It's about refusing to stop when everyone else does. Persistence doesn't need to be loud. It thrives in repetition in the small, consistent acts that compound over time. It's what keeps you grounded when motivation fades. When others quit because the applause hasn't come, you keep going because you've learned something deeper. That purpose lasts longer than praise. Every small victory becomes another brick in the foundation of your proof. One day, the world looks back and calls it success, but you'll know it was built from quiet endurance. People may doubt your dream, question your path, or even dismiss your potential. But persistence has a way of turning every doubt into a stepping stone.